welcome back to Get Me a Library. So now it's December. This year has gone so quick. I'm wearing a Christmas jumper to bring us into the Christmas mode. I'm going to try and do this for the rest of the month, but I don't know if I have enough jumpers, so you might see the same one twice. So today's book that I'm reviewing is Wonderwoman, Warbringer. So before I tell you what this book is about, obviously, it's by an author called Leigh Bardugo, and there's 4 authors, and I only just found out about this. That's why I brought this book, because I didn't know about it. But there's 4 authors who have all joined together by DC to write 4 books. So the authors are Leigh Bardugo, then there is Marie Lu, Sarah J. Maas, and Matt de la Pena, Lee Pena. And they are creating the DC Icons series. Superhero icons meet megastar authors. Now, I've never read a book by any of the authors other than Sarah J. Maas before, who did the amazing series A Court of Thorns and Roses, which I'm looking at right now. And I'm so excited for the next one. But I haven't read any of the other the authors, any of the other books by the other authors. But I must say that Leigh was really good. She writes really good books, and she's now going to go on one of my favourite authors, and I'm going to make sure that I read more of her books because she's really good. And I hope that Marie and Matt do the same for me as well. So basically it's 4 authors, megastar authors, that have been asked by DC to write some comic related books. So Leigh does Wonder Woman, Marie is doing Batman, Sarah is doing Catwoman, and Matt is doing Superman. So the 4 books have been released over this year and next year, and I think maybe the following year, I'm not sure. I think it might just be these 2 years. I do have a post about it. Let me find that, and actually I will be able to show you properly what I'm talking about. YA authors will take on Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman and Catwoman, and this was on Mashable UK. And it gives the 4 authors that they're doing. So Mash Reads can exclusively reveal that Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman and Catwoman will each get their own young adult book starting in 2017. So Warbringer, Wonder Woman, is released now. Obviously it's here. Batman which I pre-ordered, is going to be released in January. Catwoman is going to be the same year, and then Superman is going to be the year after that. My favourite is Batman and Wonder Woman, so I'm very impressed by this book, and I'm very looking forward to Batman. I do love Superman, and it's going to be great to see what they do with Catwoman. I love DC. DC is my favourite. I adore DC. So back to the book. Okay, so Wonder Woman, Warbringer will become a legend, but first she is Diana, Princess of the Amazons, and her fight is just beginning. Diana is desperate to prove herself to her warrior sisters, but when the opportunity comes, she throws away her chance at glory and breaks the Amazon law to save a mere mortal, Alia. With this single heroic act, Diana may just have doomed the world. Alia is a warbringer, a descendant of the famous Helen of Troy, fated to bring about an age of bloodshed and misery. Diana and Alia will face an army of enemies, mortal and divine, determined to destroy or possess the Warbringer. To save the world, they must stand side by side against the tide of war. Wow. This book sounds great, looks great, and it is great. This is so good, and it really, really gets me excited for the next 3 books in this series. And I've tried so hard to not read it because I don't want it to finish, but I've read it every single day. I've read it on the way to work, I've read it at work, which I shouldn't have been doing, but I've read it at work, and I'm just so happy. I'm so excited to read this book and to talk about it. So I brought a book from Amazon the other day called Book Review Report, and I've decided to put all my books in here, and it just basically has a layout of what I should be saying and what I should be doing. Obviously I'm just going to go with what I can think of, but it basically just helps me to detail all the certain points of the books that I'm going to be reviewing to give you the best review possible. So, Wonder Woman is born in an island called Themyscira, and in Greek mythology and in DC mythology and history and everything about it, this place is where the Greek gods gave the Amazon warriors to live. It's a place where they live on their own. Obviously there's no men, it's just these female Amazon warriors, and basically any Amazon warrior in this battle that they had, and in Wonder Woman it's with Ares, in this battle that they had, everyone that fought in that war and died heroically within that battle then gets to go and live on this island. And the queen of the Amazons, who is Diana's mother, she is called Hippolyta, and she is the queen of the Amazons, and she was told that when the time comes she will have a baby of her own. And I don't know whether she wanted a baby before and something happened, I don't know, but she wanted to have a baby, so she basically created her baby out of sand, and the gods blessed the baby and out came Diana. So Diana is an Amazon, but she's not seen as a true Amazon because she doesn't know what the mortal world entails. She doesn't know what humans and man are like. She only knows what the Amazon warriors are like and the gods and the stories that they've been told. So the Amazon warriors have seen what man can do. They've seen how war is created, basically. I mean, they fought in these wars. So Diana doesn't have any of this experience, so she's never seen as a true Amazon. So in the book it starts off with that. It starts off with how Diana doesn't actually feel at home in a place that is all she's ever known, with people that she's only ever known. And obviously her mother is the queen, so she doesn't really have a best friend kind of relationship with her mum. I mean, you don't always have to have that kind of relationship with your mum, but when your mother is the queen, she's not able to be there for you as a mother. It's more of a queen. She doesn't have the best, she doesn't see it as a true home. There's something in her that she doesn't like. So they are doing this race, and this isn't really a spoiler, okay, but they're doing this race, and she's trying to win to prove that she's worthy of being an Amazon. And this is where she sees, this can be seen as a spoiler, this is where she sees Alia, and, well, she doesn't know it's Alia, but she sees a shipwreck, she sees something going on, and they're so used to seeing these things. I mean, if you imagine like Atlantis, if you imagine people, and I don't have a globe to show you, but if you imagine like a globe, you can't get in the globe, you can see what's inside it, but you can't get in. Imagine it's like that, but the other way around. You can't see in the globe, you don't even know it's there, but you're living in a globe and you can see everything outside, but you can't see what's inside. If you've watched Wonder Woman the film, you'll kind of understand that and get the vibe of that, where you can't actually see into Themyscira. So they basically see this thing happen all the time. They see planes, they see ships, they see deaths, they see all these things all the time, but they don't interfere. So Diana just keeps running. She's thinking, well, I can't interfere, so I'm just going to keep running. And then she thinks, oh, I can't leave this person. She's screaming, I can hear her. Let's just take a detour and save her life. So she saves her life, she takes her to a cave, and that is when you first meet Alia, who is the Warbringer. Diana doesn't know she's the Warbringer. She doesn't know anything. She thinks, I need to get you off this island, I need to just save you from a shipwreck, and then we will take you back to the island of man, and we will help you, or I will help you. I mean, the Amazons aren't going to know. So she sees Alia there, and Alia's all over the place, doesn't understand where she is, so in a way Diana finds out the best time to leave her. She goes back to where the race is, and they're going to have like a banquet and something to eat after the race, and then they carry on with the games. And this is the point where everything on Themyscira starts to go wrong. This is where the earth starts to shudder. This is where her friend becomes ill. This is when things are changing, and this never happens on this island. This is supposed to be safe. There's slightly bits of rain, there's weather changes, but not much. It's It's a place that is like heaven. It's a nice sanctuary. It's a place where she lives. And now all of a sudden things are becoming different and things are changing. So they all say, right, we need to go and see the oracle. Now Diana quickly goes there first, and this is when she meets the oracle. Now, if you know about Greek mythology and if you know about oracles, you know that they basically can tell the future and they know everything. And you don't really know what they look like. They're a little bit scary and creepy. If you watch Percy Jackson or read the books, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. She goes there and she basically gets told you need to leave the Warbringer to die. The island will kill the Warbringer. And Diana's standing there thinking, why? And she's like, because the Warbringer, through generations of Helen of Troy, they mean that they will create war. Every war and every battle, World War I, World War II, any single war that you can think of has been created by this Warbringer. And the Warbringer doesn't necessarily go out there and say, hey, I'm going to cause a war. She just creates anger and people around her, and that's just how war is created, through the Warbringer. And I suppose people can use the Warbringer to create war if they want to. Although it's not quite, you're not quite told how the Warbringer can be used by other people. You find out a little bit more later on in the book. But because there's this Warbringer, people want to create war with it. So the oracle says that she has to die. The island will not allow her to be on this island, and it will kill her, which is good. Done. But Diana's like, hang on a minute, I don't want her to die. How can I save the island? Well, you kill the Warbringer because the Warbringer won't allow her to live. Okay, well, how do I save her? Take her to Man, take her to the island of Man, and then you'll save the island, you'll save her. But then she will still cause war, and we cannot allow that. The island cannot allow her to cause war, so it will kill her. And then Diana's like, but hang on a minute, how do I save both? And the oracle looks at her and says, you take her to the spring of when Helen of Troy rests. So that is what starts the story. Diana has to save Alia, and she has to save Themyscira, and she has to save all her people on the island. And the only way for her to do that is to take the Warbringer to the spring and let her bathe there, and then she will not be a Warbringer anymore. Because the problem to this is, if the Warbringer dies, if the island kills the Warbringer will just come out again. Another woman will become the Warbringer. And that's just how the story goes. The oracle says to her that the island will just kill the girl. And the thing is, the oracle is saying basically that Alia needs to die. Okay, because if she dies, then the island will be saved. But if she dies, another Warbringer will be made. So it doesn't actually help Alia, and it helps the island, but eventually war is going to find its way to Themyscira, and it is going to destroy the island at some point, and the Amazons are going to have to fight. And although the Amazons are amazing and powerful and strong, that doesn't mean that there won't be a way to destroy them. I mean, Wonderwoman has had a fair share of scrapes, okay, with Ares and Cheetah in DC, if you've ever read about them. She's had a fair close calls and stuff like this. So they're not, although they are immortal, she can still die, Wonder Woman. So war is still going to find its way to her island and her home. So she asks the oracle a question that the oracle doesn't seem to want her to ask, and that is, how do I save both? And the way to save both is to take her off the island, therefore the island can stop fighting back and it can stop attacking the island and it can save all your Amazons. But by taking her away, she then goes into the world of Man, and Alia is still a Warbringer. So the way to save Alia is to take her to the place where Helen of Troy rests, and that is in Sparta. And if she can get there by the certain time, she can then bathe into the spring of where she was from, and then she can basically heal herself, and she won't be a Warbringer anymore, and no one else will become a Warbringer. Sounds like a great plan. You know, you're on your way to this spring in Greece, in Sparta. You've got yourself an Amazon warrior who's standing right there, who later becomes Wonder Woman, and she is badass. But that's not easy, because the book is not this big. You have got fights, you have got friends, you've got arguments, you've got enemies, you've got betrayal in this book. and seriously, you have to buy this book. It's $7.99 and it's amazing. If you like Wonder Woman, read the book. If you like DC Comics, read the book, because you've got four books to read in this series, and you can't read one and not read the others, obviously. And if you like the authors, then obviously you need to read the books as well. I'm just basically telling you to read the book because it's really good. If you don't like Wonder Woman, you don't like superheroes, I still think it's a really good book, because it's got funny moments in it, it's got friendship, it's got growth, and you realise that Wonder Woman and Alia are very much similar. Okay, one's not immortal and one's not a Amazon goddess and one's not a human, but the point is that they are very much alike. They're both not happy in where they are, and they're both not happy with their lives. They know that they have a good life, but they're still missing that one thing, and it basically brings them together, and Diana and Alia become really good friends, and the ending's very sad because obviously she has to return to her island. So in the book, it basically tells me to have a subject set in a time period, main characters, main events, most exciting part, summary, favourite part of the book, and my review. So every week from now on, I'm going to be following this book, and I'm going to be using it to help more with my reviews, because it kind of gave me some more ideas about why I like the book and what my favourite parts about it. And obviously I'm going to be doing my 5-star rating. So it's about Wonder Woman. Whoa, that was well good. I think I'm Wonder Woman. And she's from a place called Themyscira, and also it features Manhattan. So the main events is Wonder Woman lives in Themyscira and wants to fit in. She saves Alia and discovers she's a Warbringer, and together they must save the world by stopping the Warbringer inside of her. Now, the most exciting part for me of the book was seeing how amazing Themyscira is, because it's always a story, and Greek mythology, like myths and the legends, like part of me always believes that they're true, and the Greek gods, and like I love believing all that kind of stuff. And because it's such a mystery, because you don't know if it's real or not, it's like the whole Atlantis thing. I mean, everyone seems to believe that Atlantis is not real, and you know, it's fake and it's all made up, but there are stories. And how do you know that something isn't real if you can't see it? It's the same as how do you know it is real if you can see it? Like, it's like the whole Matrix thing. I mean, but that's a completely different topic. The point I'm trying to make is you don't know what it looks like other than these stories and images that have been drawn or whatever, which is great. But my most exciting part of this book is how the author described it, and how amazing it was, and how real it made it to you, and how real it was made. Because when they go to Manhattan, it's this time, 2017, maybe 2016, but it's our time, it's the 21st century. So to see what it's like for Wonder Woman at that time, in our time, it's as if it's going on right now, so it makes it so much more believable. So when you hear about how amazing it is there, it just really makes you believe that it is actually real. And my favourite part of the book is there's a scene in the book when you meet Jason, which is Alia's brother, and Wonder Woman basically just whips his ass. She basically just grabs him and pins him to the floor, and he's just looking up at her like, oh my god, like, who are you? What the hell have you just done to me? And it's really funny because Alia is just like, you basically just got your ass kicked by she's like, you basically just got your ass kicked by an Amazon. And he's just like, what? It's quite funny. So the summary of the book is Wonder Woman, Diana, wants to be an Amazon, and she wants to feel at home. She wants to feel a part of the society that she was born into. She wants to have a chance to prove that she can go the distance. She wants to have a chance to prove that she can be a hero, and she deserves to be an Amazon. Alia doesn't feel very happy because her parents have died. All she has is her brother, and he's very much with the business that their family had, and she doesn't feel like she belongs there. She wants to have adventures, but she's got so many security guards and bodyguards watching her all the time, and you know, trying to keep her safe. Not because she's a Warbringer, it's just because of what happened to her parents and the company. And you know, it's a bit like Bruce Wayne and how important he is in his community. And it's just kind of like she doesn't feel at home either. So them both together, they actually create a great friendship because they have a lot to go on each other. They're both very close and they're both very much alike. The review of my book, my final review, is it was a very, 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 very good book. I loved this book. It was so good. I loved the characters. I loved how the author didn't change Diana at all. If you've seen the Wonder Woman film, if you've seen Wonder Woman in the comics, if you've seen her in animations, she hasn't changed who she is and how she speaks. She doesn't speak like a cavewoman. She doesn't speak like that, but she speaks very, well, I'm sorry that I offended you. You know, things like this. She's very straight to the point. She doesn't beat around the bush with things. She's very clever, very smart, but she's in a completely lost place. She's never been here before. So she's not very accustomed to how Americans speak, because they're quite fast, and she's just like, whoa, I don't understand. And also she's very strong and she's very brave, and a lot of women you don't see like that walking along the road looking how she does. So she's in a completely different place, and she hasn't changed what she's like. In any Wonder Woman thing that you've ever seen her in, she is still seen as a slight outcast and doesn't fit in. Although she fits in later on and she allows herself to fit in, straight away you don't see her as fitting in, and I really like that Leigh didn't turn her into someone completely different. I love how the story developed. I loved how Alia learns who she is, and Diana realises that actually she's been an Amazon the whole time, and although she's done this battle and she's done something and she feels proud of herself and she's happy that she achieved what she did, she doesn't actually need to do that to actually feel an Amazon, because she's been doing this all along. The type of person she is an Amazon, regardless of whether you've been to the mortal world or you've been in a battle. And also in the book you realise that things aren't what it seems, and Diana's seen that. She's been brought up in a world where men are wrong and men have these ways, which they do, but men have these ways and women aren't as strong, and men create walls and things like this. And you realise that the way she's been taught and what she's been made to believe is very different to what actually goes on, and mortals aren't as dumb in a way as she's always been made to believe. And Alia has started to realise that she's actually pretty powerful and strong herself, and she doesn't need to run away from home to be able to do things that she's always wanted to do. So that's the end of my review, and I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 stars because it was such a great book. It was written so well, the story was perfect, and the character development was awesome, and obviously this cover is so cool. So yes, it's $7.99. I got it from Amazon. Go on there now, get it as quick as you can. The one, well, it'll be next month now when Batman comes out, and I'm excited for that one. And at the back it has a little snippet of what Batman is going to be, and it says the Nightwalkers are hunting Gotham's elite. Bruce Wayne is next on their list. Turn the page to see how Bruce's adventures begins in the next DC Icons story. So I can read it if you want. Shall I read it? But don't watch any more if you don't want to know what happens in the next one. As Bruce rounded another bend, the police sirens suddenly turned, deafening, and a mass of red and blue lights flashed against the buildings near the end of the city. Cement barricades and yellow police tape completely blocked the intersection. Fire engines and a black SWAT trucks clustered together, and with silhouettes of the officers running back and forth in front of the headlights. Inside his car, the electronic voice came on again, followed by a transparent map overlaid against the windshield. Heavy police activity ahead, alternative route suggested. A sense of dread filled his chest. Bruce flicked away the map and pulled to an abrupt halt in front of the barricade. Right against unmistakable pop, pop, pop of gunfire rang out into the night air. He remembered the sound all too well. The memory of his parents' death sent a wave of dizziness through him. Another robbery, a murder, that's all. That's what all this is. Then he shook his head. No, that can't be right. There were far too many cops here for a simple robbery. Step out of your vehicle and put your hands in the air, a police officer shouted through the megaphone, her voice echoing along the block. Bruce's head jerked towards her. For an instant, For an instant he thought her command was directed at him, but then he saw that her back was turned, her attention fixed to the corner of the building. We have you surrounded, Nightwalker. This is your final warning." Another officer came behind Bruce's car. He whirled his arm exaggeratedly for Bruce to turn his car around. His voice hushed with panic. He warned, "Turn back now, it's not safe." Before Bruce could reply, a blinding fireball exploded behind the officer. The street rocked. Even from inside his car, Bruce felt the heat of the blast. Every window in the building burst simultaneously, a million shards of glass raining down on the pavement below. The police ducked in unison, their arms shielding their heads. Fragments of glass flew towards Bruce's car, dangling their hell against the windshield. From inside the blockable, a white car veered around the corner and to near at top speed. Bruce saw immediately what the car was aiming for, a slim gap between the police barricades where a SWAT team truck had pulled through. "I said get out of here," the police officer shouted at Bruce. A thin ribbon of blood trickled down the man's face. That was an order. Bruce heard the scream of the gateway car tyres against the outsole as he raced towards the gap. He'd been in his father's garage 1,000 times, helping him tinker with endless numbers of engines from the best cars in the world. At Wayne Tech, Bruce had watched in fascination as tests were conducted on custom engines, conceptual jets, self-tech, new vehicles of every kind. And so he knew. Whatever was installed under that hood was faster than anything the GCBD could ever hope to have. They'll never catch him, but I can. His Aston Martin was probably the only vehicle here that could overtake the criminals, the only one powerful enough to chase it down. Bruce's eyes followed the path the car would likely take, his gaze settling in on a sign at the end of the street that pointed towards the freeway. I can get him. The white getaway vehicle shot straight through the gap in the barricade, clipping 2 police cars as it went. No, not this time. Bruce slammed his gas pedal. The Aston Martin's engine let out a deafening roar and sped forward. The officer who shouted at him stumbled back in the rearview mirror. Bruce saw him scramble in his feet and waved the other officer's car forward, both arms held up high. "Hold your fire!" Bruce could hear him yelling. "Civilian in the proximity! Hold your fire!" Bruce narrowed his eyes and tightened his hands on the steering wheel. Few things in his life seemed without the control right now, but this moment was his. The gateway car made a sharp turn at the first intersection, and Bruce sped behind a few seconds later. The street zigzagged, then turned into a wide arc as it led towards the freeway, and the Nightwalker took the on-ramp, leaving the trailer exhaust and 2 black skid marks on the road. Bruce raced forward in close pursuit. His car mapped the ground instantly, swerving in part of the curve to follow the ramp into the freeway. He tapped twice on the windshield right over where the Nightwalker's white vehicle was. "Follow him," Bruce commanded. That is Bruce Wayne. So that is the next one, Batman, and that is called Nightwalker. So we don't know Superman yet. We only know that because Sarah J Maas released it a few weeks back, her Catwoman one is called Soul Stealer, and each one has their own book's name. So obviously we've got Wonderwoman, Warbringer, Batman, Nightwalker, Catwoman is Soul Stealer, and we don't know Superman's yet, but it's going to be something like that. I mean, I can't imagine it being something like Man of Steel, because that's obviously what he's already been. And we don't know what year it's going to be based in. We don't know the year that Catwoman is going to be based in. And by the looks of this, I don't know what Batman's going to be based in. The only difference between Batman and the other comics is Batman's always in like a timeless kind of zone. Like Gotham never seems like it has a time. If you watch the TV series, you'll understand what I mean. But it seems like it's sort of like a gothic-y steampunk kind of vibe that I get from Gotham, but it never has a time zone and a time frame in it. In the Batman films that have recently been out, especially Batman vs Superman, it's more modern day, but it does seem that Gotham doesn't really have a time zone. So yeah, that's the end of my book review. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next week, and then I'll see you when we review Batman, which will be in January. So I'll see you guys next week. Bye bye.